Yes, indeed. Welcome along, folks. A very warm welcome. Warm is definitely the word I would use tonight. To the boys on the bus, it is, of course, Friday night. And as always, you know what that means. Greg Taylor's here to tell us it is that Friday feeling. We've got it again. As I said the other top of the show, Liam, it is swelteringly hot here in Scotland just now. How is it over in Canada, mate?
Mate, we've got a thing here, especially in Vancouver in June, that we call January. And sometimes it goes into Jolemba. But for some weird reason, like Vancouver, the West Coast gets really cold here in June and July. I remember being in San Francisco once in the summer, and it was the coldest I'd ever been anywhere in a long time. You know, so it's just a weird vibe here. The day it being cold, you know.
Yeah, we've got a mini heat wave here.
Hey, Greg Taylor in Greece. Do you see who they've paired him up with? Is who's on the other side? I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I saw this the other day. Is it former Celtic player Johnny Kenny? John Joe Kenny?
John Joe
Kenny. Too many similar names.
People are pulped done to the football gods that you're going to have they two guarding the gates. It's not exactly 300 Spartans, is it?
No, anyway. Definitely not. Again, the small world in the footballing world, they two have crossed paths again because they were together the infamous COVID season because Greg Taylor was here at that point, wasn't he? So, oh dear, they've interfered again. But yeah, that's it. And it isn't official yet that he's signed for POK, but it looks like he is. I think there was another team came up the other day that he was Copenhagen or something like that, but nothing official yet. But as far as we know, it looks like he's. Well, as I said last week, we're entering a Greg Taylor free world, it seems. But I say his legacy lives on because he's here to remind us now every week what time it is. But you know what time it is just now for all the guys in the chat to do? They can do all that good stuff. And as I said last week, this means more than anything now because we are, of course, establishing a new channel here. So, of course, we need to generate the traction. We need to make sure that we get recommended in more people's inboxes and recommended videos and whatnot. So, of course, you know what you can do. You hit the old like button, help the old algorithms out. People who like Celtic-related content, Celtic podcasts, they are more likely to see us. It might pop up. So, help us out with that. If you haven't done so yet, hit the subscribe button. If you only just discovered, if you happen to discover us from your recommended videos and you like what we do, then by all means hit the subscribe button. So far, 240, I think I've done it so far from the Bhoys Bus channel I've came across. So, yep, as I said last week, if you found us last week, then I'd assume you're already subscribed. But hopefully, you know, and thanks also to all the people who have subscribed in the last 7 days. The first video did quite a lot of traction. So again, it proves the point. Hit the old like button does help with the algorithms. That's always good to see. But yes, if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. You're reminded when this bus is on the road as well. And what else can you do? Let's take a look who's in the chat tonight. It is Friday night. We've got a lot of the favourites in already. Let's have a wee look and give them some shout outs. We have got Chris D. We've got 420 somewhere. Patrick McLaughlin is in. Tommy55 is in. Graham Tyrrell, of course, is in. The klaxon's already been sounded. Jim C is here. James Kennedy is here. Ryan is here. Now, here's an interesting one. Russell Boyce is here as well. The Boise Bus account is in the chat as well. Hello, Russell. Who else have we got? I haven't shouted out yet because I've just lost track. Ryan Rafferty is here. And I think I managed to catch everybody who's posted something so far. If I haven't, like I did last week, I believe it was it Smell the Glove that I dinged, apparently. So for when Smell the Glove does come in, hello, Smell the Glove. Nobody's seen Joe Henry yet. I've seen him in the Bhoys Bus chat a few times in the last few weeks saying, where did I find the new channel? He's not appeared yet, so I don't think he's found the new channel, but I'm sure you'll find it eventually. And yeah, also you can share this link of this channel far and wide on whatever social media platform tickles your fancy and spread the word of this channel and try and get the numbers up and get the traction going. So yes, with all that good stuff out of the way, as I promised last week, Liam, is not just the Friday feeling. It's not just F for Friday. It's not just F for feeling. It's F for fixtures. Because today, the Scottish Premiership fixtures were released for the new season. Celtic's quest for number 56 for their 5th title in a row. And this little run will begin with St Mirren at home. Don't think either of us had that one. But again, as I said last week, it's totally irrelevant. You know, you're just picking a team at random for the first game of the season. As I did think, though, the first game Rangers dropped in the tail end of August, start of September. I was always going to be the case because it seems to be a sort of permanent fixture now. In the 4th or 5th week of the season, they always like to get it out of the way early, so we've got a wee trip to Ibrox going there. But of course, the key thing is as well, it could be key depending how the title race goes. The order of games between us and them will go Ibrox, Celtic Park, Ibrox, and then Celtic Park will be the last one. So before we take a deep dive into all the fixtures and whatnot and what stands out, initial thoughts, especially with obviously the potential threat, shall we say, of Rangers this season with the new manager. Is it crucial that we do get the last game on our turf, even though obviously last season we did lose a game to them at Celtic Park?
I mean, the fact that you're saying that, I just want to get them quickly to, like, I hate when we build up and we play them the last day, the fixtures, when we do like a full round and then you get to them. Because that time they get a chance to build up a resiliency, usually beating some of the, the other teams. I think if we can come out and we can dominate them really quickly and win in that first game, I think that's going to be enough a lot for your psyche and the mental, the mental set of the players as well, because that part was missing last year. I want to see that this was a team last year that, okay, they were, it was job done. Well, right now it's a new season, job's not done. So 4 games into the season, we'll have been playing in Europe. They'll have been played in Europe. We'll have a couple of games to warm up. Yeah, I think we should be able to come out and absolutely smash them. And I mean, that's the intention. And we'll see a lot about our team if we can carry through and all that as well. I want that hangover of the way we finished last year just put to bed and get that far away from us, because yeah, I don't like it when they beat us, especially when they beat us at home. And I know they're nothing games, but no, I don't know anybody on this bus and that they're no nothing games, So I get it, good and out the way is fine. Amazing that they still do the Scottish fixtures with the champions doesn't play first. I mean, that had to be a part of it or something, right? So that's the second year. It would have been the last game.
Yeah, it's happened a few times now. It's happened a few times now, hasn't it? With a 4:30 kickoff on a Sunday. As it turns out, I believe the Monday is a bank holiday in Scotland, because I've definitely got the Monday off work, but not everybody does. But obviously, the last few seasons we've kicked off on a Sunday, so it's nothing new. I think we predicted it. To be fair, I think my prediction was we'd end up getting something at Livingston at home in the first game, which would have just been hellish. Livingston Sunday 4:30 kickoff, that would have been a bad one. But let's say it is St Mirren. Also, Liam, do you know that your screen is frozen just now? Is my screen frozen? Because I can hear you fine, but you ain't moving.
No, nothing's happening here yet.
Strange. What to do? Is my screen moving on yours? Am I actually moving?
I'm just moving. I just can't. Let me.
Because if you like, if you jump out and come back in, it should hopefully fix itself. But again, last week, of course, we did a dry run we did a sort of test run on the show. And the idea was to try and iron out all the techie gremlins, and of course, it all went completely smooth. Everything went absolutely fine. But yeah, here we are 2 weeks in, and now the techie gremlins have come to get us. So when Liam comes back in, obviously we shall. Well, I've actually got the fixtures already, and I've sat and typed them up and put in all of the Scottish Cup, League Cup, international breaks and everything as well, because obviously they're going to play their part too, especially the European nights, depending on what competition we of course drop into. If we're going to land in the Champions League this season, we're going to land in the Europa League. There is of course a threat that we do, and what comes with Europa League fixtures if we do land there. Thursday, Sunday games, and there'll be 8 of them this time, because obviously the new format wasn't just for the Champions League, it was also for the Europa League last season as well, and the Conference League did get a revamp. So yeah, there is that threat that could happen, and of course we need to obviously pay attention to other teams in the league, and Hibs, Aberdeen, these Dundee United, I believe, are playing in the qualifiers as well. Will they actually get all the way into any of the major competitions? who knows? We know the usual track record with teams outside the Celtic and Rangers when it comes to Europe. So are they likely to make it through? We'll wait and see. But that could obviously play a part as well if they get into the league stages. I'll just say, Liam, while you were away, just talking about the connotations of Europe this season and how that can wreak havoc with the fixture list. If we were to drop into the Europa, which could happen, I mean, we are in a qualifier. There's never a banker when it comes to Celtic. We could end up in the Europa League, and that's got the new format as well. The 36 teams in the one big league, so it'd be 8 fixtures getting Thursday, Sunday treatment. You play on a Thursday night, you have your game moved to Sunday, and of course we have to keep our eye on the likes of Hibs and Aberdeen and Dundee United. The chances of them getting into the main competitions, as we know, they're always a bit slim, but there is probably, I think one of them's definitely guaranteed into it. It's Aberdeen are guaranteed to be in Europe up until the new year. So yeah, I've got the fixtures anyway. We'll have a wee look at them just now. So bear with me just a second till I get the logo. So yeah, divided up into 3 sections. Obviously, we only got fixtures 1 through 33 because we don't know the post-split fixtures at this stage. But the first segment of the league season coming up, fixtures 1 through 11. So I've actually spliced in the League Cup and the potential Champions League fixtures as well and what that could do for us. So obviously, as I said, St Mirren, we're actually starting with where we finished last season. Our first 2 games are the 2 last teams that we played last season. Obviously, St Mirren and we played St Mirren and Aberdeen in the league. We also played Aberdeen in the cup final. But yeah, St Mirren up first at home. Aberdeen away, that did not shock me one bit, Liam. I had on my bingo card, it'll be either Tynecastle or Pittodrie is the first away game. Again, I think Sky TV play a massive part in the fixture list. I do buy into that because Sky pay the bills, basically. They pay the money. The English Premier League does not kick off until mid-August. So for the first 2 weeks of August, Scottish football takes centre stage on Sky. So they need games that have got a bit of pizzazz, a bit of flash to them. And what better storyline than a cup final rematch just a couple of months later after Aberdeen stopped us from winning the treble, a wee trip to Pittodrie, and notoriously it could be a tough place to go. So surprise. But if you believe in conspiracies as well, Liam, I don't know if you saw this one doing the rounds today. 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, our first 2 away games were Aberdeen away and Rangers away. Now, if that was every 7 or 8 years that was happening, I would go, fair enough. But just 2 years later, Aberdeen, the first away game, followed by Rangers, mate. What's the chances?
No, just you have to laugh at it, you know. I think we've got a hard draw there for the first 4 games. So, but you know, I kind of like that. I want to see what we've got. At that point, we should be running and going smooth. So, yeah. You there, right?
I still here. I am hidden behind the graphic, obviously. But yeah, after the Aberdeen game, it will be the Premier Sports Cup. That game's guaranteed because obviously it's around the 16. And then we've got Champions League qualifying. And in between that, we've got the Livingston game at home. And then we follow up with Rangers away. So it is quite a tough run. We say those 2 Champions League games being there are obviously big in their own right. And the League Cup has its importance as well. Brendan, again, that's 2 seasons he's been back now. He was notorious for winning trebles, Liam. And he came away with 2 doubles, don't get it wrong. Double ain't bad at all. But yeah, that's 2 seasons. So he'll be looking at, again, what to get a treble, because this could be his last season as well. Could be what we've been told so far about 3-year contract. So he'll want to, if it is going to be his last year, he'll want to go out in a treble. So the League Cup fixtures will be important. We get that first international break and come back to play Killie away, and then Champions League starts. But, as I say, could be Europa League as well. But at the moment, I've put in the Champions League fixtures. We've also got a Premier Sports Cup quarter-final as well, if we get through that. Hibs at home, another Champions League game, Motherwell at home, another international break, Dundee away and Hearts away. But it'll be tricky one day. Hearts away is always a bit of a stinker. Falkirk will be playing at home, and the last game to end off the first phase of the league is Dundee United away, but it's also on the same weekend as the Premier Sport Cup semi-final. So if we get through to the final 4 in the League Cup, the Dundee United game will go on the back burner. So is there any, obviously you outlined the first few games you think it's a bit tough. Any other fixtures you look at there? Any back-to-back fixtures where you go, oh, that looks a bit ugly, or I say with some of the games like the Champions League ones or European games spliced in between, is it going to make it any of these fixtures even more difficult?
No, that's what you want. Your games coming fast and furious. I like the pace then of seeing a game every couple of days, like one in the week, one in the weekend. And I think that's where you start to see your team playing well. And for some reason, Celtic seemed to play well when we had loads and loads of games. Our form seems to drop off every time we got too much time on our hands. That's what I think, because then we start looking overcoached and and things like that, where the horseshoe comes back and things like that. And so I think when we play games, we actually do a lot better as a team. And I want to see them come in. I want to see hard games as well, because that's what will show where we are this year.
And there's definitely been cases over the last couple of years, even going back to Ange, when we got down to that sort of tail end of the season and it became like a game every week rather than that cluster of midweek games. And it did feel like the team would slow up a wee bit. So I do think, I agree with you. I think keeping yourself sharp with all these games, big fixtures. So say if we're in that Champions League again, there'll be some blockbuster games there. So yeah, but I say the one that probably, again, could have potential to be a bit difficult is we always get a Champions League game right before we play Hearts away. Hearts under Derek McInnes. We don't know how they'll be. I mean, by that point, we're going to be well into the season, so we'll have a clear picture if Hearts are going to be a threat, but they always try and make it super difficult for us at Tynecastle, so I wouldn't expect any less when we go there. We move on to the second phase of the season and fixtures 12 through 22, so it starts off with another Champions League game or potentially Europa League game. We then get Killie at home. It's another international break. St Mirren away, back into Europe again. Then we've got a wee cluster of Hibs away, Dundee at home, Hearts at home, another Champions League. The weekend of the League Cup final, if Celtic do get there, it's Falkirk away. So if we get that far, Falkirk will be moved to a later date. We have got Aberdeen at home. I put Livingston at home. We've actually got them away in that one. So we've got Livingston away and Motherwell away back to back. And yeah, Rangers at home, obviously, in the New Year game, 3rd of January, and Dundee United at home. And then the Scottish Cup kicks off. So I'd say probably, again, I always look out for back-to-back away games, even though my graphics got a wrong letter against it. Livingston and Motherwell away. Livingston, mate, what more can be said about Livy? I think they're even relishing it, the whole not wanted, not loved, not borrowed. They're kind of milking that because very few people want to see them back in the top flight. The whole plastic pitch. How you like to put it, Liam, the agricultural style of football that they play, let's be honest, they're quite aggressive in their approach at times. We've obviously got Austin Trusty in the team, who showed last season he doesn't like a big clogger being a bit aggressive against them. That could be a problem. But again, we don't know how the team will look by the time we get there. Do you think a team like Livingston will be affected? Because thinking the last time they were up, Brendan did beat them 3 times out of 3. I know Ange had a couple of stinky results against them. But I think Brendan, he got 3 out of 3 against them and they obviously went down. But it is always a fixture now that I look at after those 5 years of them being up, where it does just gives me PTSD whenever I see that in the fixture list. Livingston away, mate.
It's just one of the things that I get an anti-football vibe as soon as you see their name, in the matchup and that. And that's usually what Livingston is. You're going to get like a, grunting, tackling, just like an old school game there. And they'll be doing everything that they can to win. And yeah, it's like, I don't know, like there was a couple of players in Livingston, guys like, was it Gary Holt and stuff like that? I was really, really starting to dislike because you just see them all the time. Yeah, it's one of the things. They're the games that I don't like, where you want to see your flair players protected and stuff by the referee, and that's where you want to see, sending offs and yellow cards and stuff like that when it does get out of hand, because I usually think these are the teams that usually come in with a really hard tackle, and some reason because they're shite, there's far more leniency shown towards a team like Livy because a red card would make it really hard for them. But the amount of times that we get guys that take liberties with our players, especially early on, teams like Livy, they're very uncomfortable to watch you playing against them,
I think Ian McIntosh's comment I brought up makes a very good point, and it proves again why we need to have good squad depth here. Some players may avoid plastic pitches, CCV and Kieran Tierney, for example. So this is why it is so important that the depth has to be good. We had obviously a few years ago Joseph Siminovic that wouldn't get played on a plastic pitch because his knees were pretty much butter by that point. CCV's had a lot of injury problems that have been mounting as the seasons go on. Kieran Tierney, we know what we're getting with him coming. So it proves again that we do need another strong left back to come in and fill in when Kieran Tierney's not available. And the right centre back side, we'll keep on getting like the left sided centre backs of backup to CCV if we're going to be basing it on the foot they play with. At the moment, it's Nawrocki, but he isn't staying. He's not staying. There's no chance of that. So then what happens? Is it Stevie Welsh coming back from his loan spell? Is Stevie Welsh going to be the backup to CCV? Surely not. So it's like there must be other players out there, but it seems to be whenever it comes to centre-back links at the moment, it's all left-sided once we keep getting linked with Liam.
I mean, CCV ended up playing far more games than I thought he would last year. So, yeah, we got to make a move for that. I don't know, is CCV and Austin Trusty in the Gold Cup? Because I know Alistair Johnson is with Canada.
I don't think so, no. I think I heard Hamish Carton on Celtic AM saying that CCV said it's definitely not there. I don't think Trusty's in, though. I don't.
Right, so what I heard today, just on I was watching some of the Canadian football stuff, and they were talking about the Gold Cup and all that, and I was just sort of looking and go, well, wait a minute, that's going to overlap into our pre-season. And Alistair Johnson just finished his honeymoon and showed up with the Canada squad here in Vancouver through the week. So it'll be interesting to see, the amount of importance now that's put in having a proper pre-season with Celtic and all that. If Alistair Johnson will be missing that, and if the USA are involved as well, that they'll be missing out. And this is if Canada does really well, but Canada right now are on fire.
Yeah, you've been hyping them up a good few times on the Friday Field and saying about some players that we should be looking at. There's definitely the one indication again is something that I've beat the drum on as well, where I've said for a while these countries that 15 years ago were not very fashionable. We've got to start getting in there and getting some of their talent before the big clubs begin catching on. There's already a bunch of Canadian players that play for some top teams around the continent, like Alphonso Davies at Bayern, Jonathan David playing for Lille, but I believe he's set for a move this summer. There was a boy Buchanan as well that I think was playing for Inter Milan.
So Tejan Buchanan just came back in at the Canadian national team, and he's someone that I had said maybe 2 years ago when we started this podcast, Phil, that was one of the Canadian players I would really like to see. He matches up well with Johnson. And he's got something to it. He's got a bit of swagger to him as well. That he gets angry when he plays a wee bit. He punishes defenders, punishes them for mistakes, punishes them for letting up. And he's right now connecting with Jonathan David right now and setting him up for loads of goals. Same with the other one, Promise David came in and scored a couple of goals as well. That's a young boy that's playing in Belgium. I think he was the top scorer there. Yeah, and like if you see the balls in the service Buchanan puts in, we're desperately needing someone like that. That's someone I would have loved to have seen us move for. But the fact he's at Inter Milan right now, I think he's well out of our price range.
Yeah, I would think so. But again, we'll have to just put our trust in the scouts. But these countries, as I say, they weren't that fashionable a decade ago. We saw the Euros last year, teams like Albania and like Slovenia and stuff like that. These were Georgia were excellent at the Euros last year. So again, it's like got to start catching on. I mean, PSG just won the Champions League. Kvaratskhelia, who played for Napoli for a few years and went to PSG, is one of their best players. Georgian. It's like, again, we've got to start catching on because the big teams are starting to catch on now, so that they are out there. The final portion of the fixtures we've had confirmed. Now, this is an interesting one. Look at that. We've got Hearts away sandwiched in between fixture 7 and 8 in the Champions League. Or it could be the Europa League, as I say. We could have the Europa League that if we drop down from the qualifiers. Hopefully not. But obviously last season, it went down to pretty much the last 2 games for us, Liam, to qualify. We obviously beat Young Boys of Bern in fixture 7. We don't know what the draw will be. Will we get as good a draw this time? Doubtful. But that fixture sandwiched in between them, Hearts away, Oh, but a wee bit, as you say, mate, we should relish that. We should relish these challenges, mate.
I think so. I mean, and Hearts as well. Hearts are like schizophrenic. You have never idea what Hearts is going to show up from one season to the other. Derek McInnes, he might be the one to give them that boost or something like that. But I don't know. You get one season, you got a Hearts team that's soaring because guys like Shankland and that get hot, and then the next season they're back there. You know, they're fighting the split to try and even make it into the top 6 at the end. So same with Hibs as well. I mean, that's a crazy place, Edinburgh. You know.
Aye. I was interested to see that we did not end up with a scenario where we had Hearts away and Hibs away back to back, or Aberdeen away followed by Hearts or Hibs, because I felt like in the last few years we've always had a moment during the season where we'll get, like, well, last season we got Hearts and Hibs back to back in the fixture list as well. Last season at one point, I think the season before that, when we had Aberdeen and Hearts close together, like back to back as well. So I do always notice that. But this time we haven't. But the rest of the fixtures throughout the final or the third phase of the season, say Hearts away, sandwiched in between 2 European games, Falkirk at home, Aberdeen away, Scottish Cup 5th round, and then we've got Livingston at home, Killie away, Hibs at home, Rangers away on the 20th of February. That's obviously at Ibrox. Scottish Cup quarter final follows that. Then we've got Motherwell home, Dundee United away. It's another international break after that. And then Dundee away, St Mirren at home, and then the Scottish Cup semi-final if Celtic do happen to get that far. And then it'll be the last 5 league fixtures and the Scottish Cup final again if Celtic get that far. But we don't know the 5 post-split fixtures just now. But yeah, that is the fixture list in full with all your Cup and European games spliced in there too, folks. So there you go. But yeah, they say we've got to play them all anyway in whatever order, however they come. And yeah, now we know what awaits us. But are we ready for it at this stage? I would say right now, no. There's a lot of work still needs to be done. I saw a thing get posted on Twitter about our depth chart at the moment, and it's like, geez, and you're assuming as well that all these players are all still going to be there, Liam, because obviously we've still got some question marks over the likes of Nicholas Kuhn and whatnot. What's going to happen with him? But yeah, the stories tonight, here we are. Well, last Friday we went through a whole bunch of transfer rumours, but Celtic being Celtic, everyone must be on the holidays or something like that. The fax machine's unplugged while they're all on the beach, for all we know. This time last week we were told that Callum Osmand had passed his medical, and here we are, still waiting on the club to officially confirm it, although by all accounts he was at Lennoxtown last night, so there is that. And also the Benjamin Nygren, again, a lot of the talk is it's pretty much done. But yeah, nothing officially confirmed yet. The last we heard was Celtic had agreed a fee in the region of 1.7, 1.8 million. As we talked about last week, he's out of contract in January. So this is him in his last 6 months because the league he plays in Denmark, I want to say he plays for. He plays in, so he's a Swedish player but plays in Denmark. Their season runs from March to November. So their January window is kind of like what the summer window is to us for the end of their season. So he's up, and so they need to get a feast. But again, we're still waiting on it being confirmed. However, Liam, breaking news: we do have one signing confirmed tonight. So yes, I have got the breaking news graphic. It's here. Look at this for Blockbuster, mate. There you go, Ross Doohan. Ross Doohan is back. Celtic FC is delighted to announce that goalkeeper Ross Doohan signed for the club on a 3-year deal. Welcome back, Ross. Hashtag Ross returns. Somehow, I don't think that's going to really catch on there, Mr. Celtic admin. I haven't looked at the replies on that one. I'm just glad that he hasn't got a social media account that's been tagged, because I can only imagine the type of replies that are going to be on it. Poor lad. But he's basically coming in to be the new Scott Bain, the new Bainiac. It's going to be Ross Doohan, just going to be sitting in the stands most games and whatnot. But I suppose with Kasper Schmeichel, this is probably Schmeichel's last year. Doohan is still a young keeper. I think Sinisalo proved that he is capable of becoming the number one. So Doohan might not need to wait too long to get in a position where he can get more games, Liam.
Yeah, you know, you just have to look at it. He's there for the Europe. He's there to sit on the bench and just hope that Schmeichel or Sinisalo doesn't get injured, because if you look at Ross Doohan, he wasn't that clever with that sort of drop off with Aberdeen last year. That was when their goalkeeper got injured, and Ross Doohan was what went in net, and they nearly never recovered for that. So Yeah, I mean, hashtag returns, hashtag comeback. I mean, Celtic need to get a grip and start looking at themselves, have a bit of self-awareness that, yeah, we're playing this recycled bit a wee bit maybe too much. As far as that being the official second signing, and that is official, right? So
as Celtic's Twitter account has put it out there. Yes, he's the second one.
What's funny, I've listened to a lot of podcasts and just reading stuff this week. A lot of people, mix, like people really quick to pat Celtic management on the back for saying, wow, we're really responding to the transfers this year. We've really got off to a flying start. Well, up until 2 minutes ago, you're breaking news. We'd only signed Tierney, and that was done in January, February. So it's almost like you get the sneaking suspicion that when the season ends and the players go on holiday, I think a lot of their higher ups go on holiday as well. I think the suits go on holiday. This looks like to me that we're waiting on the sharp-suited men to come back. Now, all the underlings have done all the groundwork, and again, I think you're looking at purchases under 4 million, 3 million, at that point, and it's like, okay, they've been given the go-ahead to sort of suss out these players, but let's wait till the grown-ups come back and we'll make this official, and let's see if we're leaving an extra 60 grand in the table or something. Like, is there another way that we could make this more difficult and less seamless than it actually is? And I don't know, I don't agree with that as a board, because I think you get such a limited time window, and they're very, very quick to point that out, that it just always have the appearance that we're always going from a standing start. We're not working on towards any sort of momentum. It's not like we've started getting deals and things going, towards the end of the season. We wait till the start. And so, anyway, we'll see on Monday. Hopefully this, Monday is one of the Nike Mondays, Adidas Mondays, where we've just got a big brand new Adidas stamper or signet or a pen or whatever it is. Mike Nicholson needs to sort of get these over the line, but yeah, we have to
get that fax machine plugged back in.
Especially when's our pre-season's in 3 weeks?
Pre-season starts against Queen's Park in just over 10 days or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's still far away, aye.
Yeah, so you want to get players in and you can bed them in.
The first week of July, definitely. No, the next week's the last week of June. So yeah, first week of July it begins.
And you have no idea what these boys are going to be like. Even if they do bed in and successfully, you get guys like Kuhn and stuff like that. First Champions League game under the lights. You find out if they've got the bottle for it or not. I really want to see us I mean, there's nothing about the signings that are on the table there that I don't like, because I really don't have a lot of expectations from them. My expectations aren't high when you're looking at, £1 to £2 million signings. I think the Swedish boy looks promising. I think the boy from Belgium promising. Even the boy from Fulham and all that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing there that sort of shows me that we've got Champions League aspirations. I'd really love to see one player to come in to our team that has played, maybe half a dozen Champions League campaigns with a team. Somebody from Italian, Spanish, any team that's constantly been in the Champions League and understands what it's about, and someone that knows what they have to do to win, draw, just preserve a lead, somebody like that. I mean, a known figure. So I'm hoping that's going to come in this week, because we can't be waiting till the last minute for this stuff. Just too much at stake.
Well, we always say we can't be waiting, but how many times do we find ourselves there in the last week still wondering what's going on? See, with this qualifier now and that uncertainty that it brings, then again, we've heard the stories before that Celtic usually bank for a Europa League campaign, but the last few years it's been guaranteed Champions League. But now we're in a position where it could go Pete Tong. We could end up in the Europa League. I don't think the standard of the Europa League's that bad. I don't think we've got a right to say that we're better than the Europa League, obviously. But the problem with the Europa League is the fixture the way the calendar moves about, when you get all Thursday games and Sunday games, and it can just be a bit of a flat atmosphere sometimes. Or if you've got a game in Celtic Park 3 o'clock on a Sunday against like Livingston or something like that, then it can create a bit of a flat atmosphere. But Europa League, I say there's a lot of good teams in that, so I wouldn't. But obviously the money and the prestige is in the Champions League, and after what we experienced last year, we don't want to be on the outside looking in just after one season. Now, can I shock you, Liam? Can I throw something out there that will shock you, mate?
Nothing shocks me.
I seen a story tonight, and it could just be a lot of Celtic fans on Twitter just instantly jumping to conclusions, as you might do with Celtic. They have got a track record for it. But there is some stories doing the rounds from uncredited sources about the Balakisha deal is stalling because Celtic are, dragging their heels over whatever amount of money it is. Again, we've heard these stories before. Now, I say, can I shock you here? I'm not angry if that's the truth, because I think, and if you ask a lot of Celtic fans, I know you, Liam, fall into this camp, would you rather be paid what they want and he doesn't turn out to be that good, like, say, an Adam Ida, like what happened last year? Or as I say, I can understand Celtic's logic where we will try and get the price down as much as we can, because, you and I can't sit here and say we know that Balakisha's amazing. We genuinely don't. We're not going to sit here and lie that we're pure experts on the guy. Celtic have obviously done some kind of scouting. They've been liking them for a while, but maybe what standard liaison are asking for, Celtic are like, well, we're interested, but we're not interested to pay that much. They say, look at what happened last year with Engels, where a lot of fans, I know our very own Mark Kearney will tell you, in his words, Engels is red rotten, as he likes to always remind us. 11 million for that one. Say Adam Ida, we definitely got we got our pants pulled down on that one for a lot of fans as well. So I am not raging. I'm not going in there two-footed, basically, that, oh no, the club's dragging their heels, oh no, they're dilly-dallying over the price. I can kind of get what they're trying to do here, because last season I say there is evidence here to show that, you don't want to pay necessarily what they're looking for, because it can have if it has bad results, mixed results, we'll put it down in mixed results, because I say both Ida and Engels have served a purpose this season. They've had their moments, but when you pay that type of money for them at the level we pay, you're expecting, unfortunately it comes with the territory, you're expecting better.
Aye, I mean, the Ida and Engels thing, it left a bad taste in my mouth as well. But even when we were buying them, I was saying that I don't think we should spend that much money on it too, because they're not proven. And it wasn't not to spend that amount of money on the right players that you get identified, but it just seemed like an awful lot to be gambling on someone that we were told was not going to be a project. Well, he wasn't a project because he got every opportunity to make that position his own, not like a lot of other boys in the team. So he was given a license not to fail. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I don't think he earned it. I thought Ida was poor this year as well too. I don't see 9 million in that. And the other problem with Ida was, okay, where else did we look? I would rather us moving on from Balakishiwa, whatever his name is.
Balakisha, yeah.
Because we found someone that we think is better developed or better, has better opportunities of really commanding that position and going right into the first team. If we're identifying players that we know that we absolutely want, and he seems to have been on the radar all the time, honestly, if you're 300,000 or something off, and that's what you're playing, but you've identified that's the player you want, then I think you just go and grab them. But that's the problem when you have such a narrow focus on who you're after. You don't seem to have a wide net. Where again, we're going back in and out for guys that we've been monitoring now for 18 months to 2 years.
That's happened.
So you should know the value at that point, whether you're going to pull the trigger or not. To lose it because 300 grand or something like that. We seem to keep finding 300 grand behind the couch every time there's a transit. When another team actually makes a bold player move, we benefit from that. So, I don't know what he's doing with that. I don't agree with that one. I think if he's identified and he's the player we want, we pay it. Because again, it's no 9 million, it's no 11 million in this case, Phil. It's like what, 4 or 5?
again, just I don't know for definite. It's just again the reports you read. I've seen that it's like they're asking for something in the region of 5 million plus, and I think Celtic are obviously whatever. Well, I don't know what Celtic have offered back, but I say I'm looking at the logic of last summer we did pay eventually what is big money for us and what these clubs wanted, and I'd say mixed results when it came to Eder and Engels. There's plenty of fans that will tell you that they would cut their losses on both of them right now and would sell them at the first opportunity, even if it means making a loss on them. That's how some fans feel about them. I think both will still be here this coming season. I think they will. Again, we keep talking about the fabled pre-season. Let's see if that makes a difference. I mean, Nicholas Kuhn definitely benefited from a pre-season last year for 6 months, and then after that it was a bit mixed. A good comment here from Irishman in Portal 2002. Thank you for jumping on tonight. Thank you for crossing over to this channel. Problem is, Phil, people still think 6 million will get you a player like Chris Sutton. Yes, indeed. Yeah. It's impossible, correct, because there's still, I mean, to be fair, 6 million for us right now is a big outlay of money. I mean, we've spent 6 million on Austin Trusty last year, but again, money and football has moved on so much. But Celtic, how long was our transfer record? 6 million. It was up until what Odsonne Edwards signed in 2017, 2018, wasn't it? 2017 it was. So it just shows you that, we didn't, in our mind, 6 million is still like, oh, that's massive, but nowadays 6 million for a lot of the bigger clubs and the bigger leagues, that is just changed down the back of the couch. That's all that is. And yeah, spending 6 million, as we saw last season with Austin Trusty, 9 million Adam Eder, 11 million on the Engels, you're getting mixed results. And then following up on that, another comment as well, which kind of from Tommy55 says, we got Matt O'Reilly for pennies, which again is the opposite end of the spectrum, where that is a case of, if the scouting is done right, you don't need to spend stupid amounts of cash. I've said it plenty of times since I've been doing this, since back 2022 on the Bhoys bus all the way through. I bring this up every so often. Celtic don't need to spend everything they've got in reserve. I mean, it'd be amazing. And I do think last summer it was good to go out and spend big money for our standards. That's great. But as long as it's just done right, as long as the scouting is right. Now, obviously, this is the first summer window for this new scouting setup that we've got with the boy Paul Sheridan, wasn't it? Was his wee fedora hat? I think I've seen David Pleat is involved somewhere in the background as well. Obviously, a veteran of the game. What contacts does he have? We need to wait and see how that comes out. But again, we've shown in the past. I bring these names up all the time, and I know nowadays. Again, going back to that, the money, it's hard to get these players for this money. But again, if you just do your scouting, there is gems out there. Guys like Wanyama didn't cost a lot of money at the time. He was less than £1 million. Virgil van Dijk was like £2.5 million at the time in 2013. Gary Hooper was about 2 million. Anthony Stokes, who was playing right under our nose in Scotland, we got him for less than £1 million. He was a success for us. Chris Commons was only less than 500,000. There's a theme here, by the way. All these players were all in the Neil Lennon era. Joe Ledley was a free transfer. But I say somewhere in the middle of the 2010s, our approach to signing and scouting just seemed to go a bit skew with, and we relied too much on City Group loans and whatnot. But the players are out there. It's proof in the past that you don't need to spend stupid amounts of cash to find your player. But right now we're in a period of a new scouting setup, Liam. And it's been we'll see how they go this summer. We won't know until the window's over, unfortunately. We're at a stage now where we just need to wait and see what they do, mate.
Well, we're not asking the question about Lennon Miller right now, and being able to see a player right under our noses and developing within Scotland, but also now getting international praise. That I think as a Scottish club, knowing that we have a coefficient to completing that, how that deal wasn't done around during the Christmas window, I'll never know. Get in there fast. You had the advantage of being first, of getting first look, knowing that you have something, you can get in there before anybody else starts circling around. We talked about it last week. Yeah, it's probably clubs for Italy and all that looking at this point now. And a player that we could have got for probably 4 or 5 million, I think we'll end up playing more than that. But I still think it's a player that we should go after. Get him into the team. When there was talk about Arnie Engels being sold, yeah, I would replace him with Lennon Miller. I'd love to see a Scottish player, get that sort of opportunity, that sort of chance. You know, if
Miller definitely looks a player. Definitely.
That's like a player, you know, and everybody's been saying that. You listen to every pundit, every ex-player, manager in Scotland is identifying that this player has something about him, and so yeah, to watch him end up somewhere else, I think, and then try and buy him back later. I mean, but we've seen this movie before, right?
You know? Yeah, well, we have definitely. Here's a sobering fact for you from Ian McIntosh saying Trusty, Rocky, and Lagerbielke cost around 13 million. The three of them together. Just we're talking about, you know, spending like a 6 million and what 5 million, 4 million, which is a lot for us. And yeah, look at the results we've had there. The Rotsky, we've said enough times, we don't feel did that much wrong, other than a game where he got turned rotten by Majowski up at Pataudry. He wasn't that bad. Lagerbielke, obviously, last season when he came in, he had to start the season playing alongside Liam Scales, who was only getting a chance for the first time. And yeah, Trusty, I think he's been hot and cold this past season. I think in games like against Atalanta, the Champions League, obviously phenomenal. With the backs to the wall performance, I thought he dealt with everything. He was great against Bayern Munich away from home, but then you look at games like Dundee up at Dens Park, and he was struggling in that one. Speaking of Majowski, I just mentioned him there. Liam, Monty's saying he would bring Majowski to the club. This is a name that's came up. I seen it come up a couple of weeks ago as well in the news that apparently Girona, I believe, is he plays for just now in Spain. They're looking to sell him already. And of course, the journalists being the way they are, it's just a lazy link. They just had the headline saying SPFL return. They said multiple clubs in the SPFL, so that will probably be us and Rangers, I would guess. I don't think Aberdeen would be buying him back because of the money that Girona will probably want for him. They'll probably want to make something back on what they spent. So Majowski, is this name going to be doing the rounds all summer again, Liam? Are we going to be talking about him?
Honestly, it's a lazy signing, which is right up our alley. You know, somebody, you know, like, again, yeah, it's a no-brainer. But I don't know. I think Diaz Almeida is going to be our number one centre forward. So if you've got him, and then you've got Adamida, and then we've got Johnny Kenny, and then we've got the boy from Fulham, that'll be 5 strikers on the books, and only one of them's really any good.
I think Johnny Kenny will be. I think he'll be moved on. I think he'll be sent back out on loan, or they'll try and find a buyer for him. I think Kenny just basically got some game time at the tail end of last season because he was the only other option. The very fact that we finished that cup final with him through the middle was just abysmal. Absolutely abysmal, mate.
Would you look at just bringing in a Champions League striker, somebody with a bit more experience at the end of the day that can come in, that you know that you can fling on for 20 minutes and either hold a game up or actually drive or put pressure on to create something in the box, you know, like a Jamie Vardy type, or who else is it there?
Yeah, maybe not necessarily Jamie Vardy, but yeah, I know what you mean. An experienced striker that's done it at the top level. Maybe they are in their 30s now, but again, they are quite happy to be second choice. They're not coming up here demanding to be first choice, because again, there's nothing wrong with signing a wee bit of experience. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Not everything has to be a 19-year-old, an 18-year-old that we're going to try and sell for profit in a few years' time. So there is that. I see that Kyogo's name was also doing the rounds, and funny enough, B has said that we need a new Kyogo, i.e. a natural goal scorer. Yeah, I see the actual Kyogo was, again, lazy journalism linked to a sensational Celtic return, but it turns out it looks like he's going to Birmingham City in the English Championship. Big spending, Birmingham City under Tom Brady, I think, is part of the consortium that owns them these days. So yeah, we'll see if he walks up there with Tomoki Iwata. But yeah, we do need to improve the striker options. I really want Adamida to be a success, but right now, I feel like he's just not really took the opportunity. There was a wee flash there once Kyogo left. He had like a wee run of games around about the turn of the year where he scored like 4 or 5 games in a row, and you're like, okay, he's seizing the opportunity now that he's the main man, and then it's just been hot and cold since. But again, I'm willing Adamida to do it, but I think there needs to be other options there other than him, because when he is having a bad day, And even Maeda at the tail end of last season, it sort of petered out a wee bit. I don't know if it was a case of just he was a bit exhausted because he was carrying the team at times, Liam. But
he pushed out in the wing an awful lot at the time as well. And when he was building up momentum, when he was in the middle, we took it. We stopped that momentum to push him back out in the wing because we wanted to give Aramida a run, maybe because he scored an international goal or something. But it didn't seem like the right way to. Well, I think it was when Jota went down, we needed another winger and all that. But that doesn't even make your striker worse. Ida, I think with Ida, we've basically seen everything you're going to get out of Ida. I don't think you're going to get any more than 20 goals. And if you look at him and you judge him just as that player, if he'll come in, he'll get you 20 goals a season. All right, that's okay. But he's never, ever going to be a marquee player. He's not going to be a marquee striker. You know, very rarely is going to be that guy that digs out something out of nothing. I mean, there will be games and all that when he does. But, yeah, I don't know. It's not something you can pin your aspirations on, knowing that that's a guy that's going to get you out of hole, you know?
No, definitely.
Yeah. The other thing I'd love to see is get you know, imagine if we push the boat out, right? And maybe it's a bit too late now, but here's Sergio Ramos bounced about a few different teams. I think he's in Mexico now.
Yeah, he's playing in Mexico for Monterrey. Is it them? I believe he's playing for them. Yeah. And
you know, there's a guy, if you're looking for somebody with Champions League experience, somebody that might suck up, you know, like definitely the atmosphere for a crowd. Something, you know, Roger speaks Spanish. You know, come on.
Does, actually.
Hello,
oh God.
Brendan, how are you?
Oh God! Could you imagine that big shithouse playing for us? Jesus Christ! I think his wages might be a bit out of our reach, but what a character! Fun fact for you, see when he played for Real Madrid alongside Pepe, who was obviously a dirty bastard in his own right. Apparently, Sergio Ramos had a worse disciplinary record than Pepe, and that guy was an absolute animal. I couldn't believe that when I heard. That's one of those stats you hear in football where you're like, it's got to be made up. That has to be made up. No, Sergio Ramos had a worse disciplinary record than Pepe alongside him. Shocking.
Who had the worst disciplinary record at Celtic this year? It was a tie. Can you guess?
Oh, I'm trying to think of red cards. I didn't have many red cards. I'm going to say Alistair Johnston picked up the most penalty points.
No, it was I think it was a tie with Daizan Maeda and Greg Taylor.
Oh, Daizan Maeda does get a lot of bookings, and he had some red cards actually. He got sent off against Young Boys of Bern, didn't he, in the Champions League? So he did, yeah.
We're going to miss Greg's aggression and physicality.
I had to be if like Graham Towers guessed it with the klaxon going off as well. Being Greg Taylor had to be in there, didn't he?
Saw a picture of him and Luke McCowan this week, and it was like, yeah, Luke McCowan, it's weird than Greg Taylor.
Yes.
What's happening up in Morton or Greenock, wherever they're
Greenock,
from?
That's the form, Greenock.
What are they? You know,
must be. I see the same picture, mate. I seen it that they were on the hollybobs. Like it seems the rest of Celtic are right now. All the suits are there. So hopefully, as when they come back, they get that vaccine plugged in right away. And yeah, we start getting these players over the line. Because a week ago we were told that Callum Osmand had passed his medical. I say last night he was apparently at Lennoxtown, but here we are, still waiting. So we've only got Ross Doohan announced at the moment. But yeah, Liam, I don't know for the last 10 minutes if you just go out again and come back in because you've been frozen for a wee while. But I thought with the sound working, I thought we'll just tough it out. But you have been stuck on a frozen picture for about the last 5 minutes or so. So I don't know if you want to disconnect again and reconnect. And I'll there you go. Tommy 55 said I said tell Liam to go in and out again. It's a universal IT fix. I've worked in IT jobs in the past in my previous life, and it was always a case of if you turned it off and turned it back on again, that usually fixes it. So if Liam quickly disconnects, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, let's have a wee gander then at some of the comments. So John Boy, I'd start this one earlier on. Personally, I don't trust Brendan to go out and sign players. The amount of money he's wasted on shite in both spells at this club is appalling. I suppose the same goes for his time at Liverpool as well. That was something that was always highlighted about him. Now, Liverpool, and they also had a much, much bigger budget than we were working with at the time as well. But yeah, there is some questions. But I think as well, and I know I'm sticking up for him. Saying that he's a manager, and he does claim that he gets the final say on all the players that come in. But obviously, it was the same at Liverpool. There was a transfer consortium, and again, the way our transfers are structured and whatnot. So when he came back in 2023, there was some of those transfers where I was like, I don't know, like Kwon and Yang and stuff like that. I was like, did Brendan Rodgers really? Did he really sign off on them? Did he really have a say in that one? That one just reeked of it was left on a list for Ange Postecoglou's time. But no, I was brought that comment there, Liam, from John Boy, just about he doesn't trust Brendan to go out and sign players. The amount of money he's wasted on shite in both spells at the club is appalling. But what I'm just pointing out is at times, like, has he really been the one that has signed off on some of these transfers? Like Kwon and Yang, they didn't seem like a Brendan type of move. That first window back did seem a little bit scattergun. Funny enough, the one player that, I remember at the time when all these, we signed 9 players that window, and the one that we looked at and went, oh, I can see the link there, was actually Nawrocki, because Legia Warsaw had played Leicester in their Conference League run 2 seasons before that, and the feeling was he must have saw them while playing against them, so that's probably the link. But Nawrocki was one of the first ones that was kind of exiled by Brendan Rodgers. But yeah, remember he did say in the summer of 2023, he's happy with the transfer structure and he has final say on them and whatnot. So it is interesting, but he claims that he is sanctioning these signings, but yeah, it's not as cut and dry anymore. I think football, when it comes to transfers, of just the manager gets the final say. So there's all sorts of scouts and agents involved and whatnot, and sports science as well obviously comes into it. It's no longer all about the eye test anymore, Liam. There's all that. But at the moment, see with Brendan, we've also got another issue about Brendan as well going into this season. The contract, is he staying? Is he going? Are the board going to sufficiently back him if he is leaving? If he is going to be going at the end of the season, how quickly do we need that confirmed by the club, and it can't drag on for the rest of the season? There's all those questions as well, Liam.
Right. I mean, that's the best thing the board could do if they come back for their holidays this week. Say hello to everybody, have a cup of tea, sort of thing, have a nice lunch, go out there. And when you come back, get the contract out for Brendan Rodgers and just get him to sign it. I'm not a big fan of Brendan Rodgers. I think, honestly, I think you got a 2-year plan with a 3-year contract with this guy. I think you get your best out of him in the 2 years. We've never seen what he's like in a 3rd year, but we saw the direction his football was going in. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Rodgers. I think if he was involved with the transfers and all that last year, then I don't know. He didn't get them right. Mm-hmm. And I've not seen a lot for Rodgers as far as being able to identify players and bringing them on, and that he seems to miss a lot. And the fact that he misses guys like Nawrocki and that, they're right within his own squad. Hits alarm bells for me as well. But if you want to get this season underway and get it going right, get the contract sorted, get them to sign it, and then that way, okay, then players can come in knowing that they've got a bit of security with the guy that's signing them's going to be there, that sort of thing. And I don't know, I'd love to see more communication right now with the club as well, as far as, like, I know we're signing some of these young boys as well. I see the boy from Greenock Morton. Is it Isaac English?
Yes, that got announced by the club as well for the B team.
18-year-old. It's like, but what's the pathway for these guys? Where's he going to be? Because that B team that we have is just, I don't know, it's not fit for purpose, really. It seems to be just like a way to piss off young players that would never want to come back and play for Celtic again, going to other clubs, like take them when at that point where they should be breaking through, and then just say, sorry, can I get a game? We're still figuring out this Yang thing,
It's why I'm a little bit excited about the boy from Fulham, Callum Osmand, because initially when it came up, obviously a lot of people were saying, he's not played any minutes in the top division for his first team Fulham, but Jeremy Frimpong hadn't played any minutes for Manchester City when we signed him. But this boy, the reason why I don't think it's a B team signing and he'll be playing there is because he's had an offer from Fulham and he's knocked it back and he is coming to us. He's not going to sign for us to go and play in the Lowland League, playing for the B team in the 5th tier of Scottish football. It looks like he will be in and around the first team and he will get his chance. That's why I think that Johnny Kenny will probably be ousted from that position, essentially. I think he'll be, loaned out, sold, whatever we do with him. So there is a wee bit of excitement because I say the B team stuff, you're right. What is the pathway? I think I mentioned it last week. Steve McManus did the press conference to hype up the Newcastle game. And he talked about his role and saying, our job's to create that pathway for them. And it's like, what pathway? We're not seeing much. Like McCardle seems to be the new one that we're putting a lot of hopes in. Will he get much opportunity this season? Or did he just happen to get opportunity because we were that far ahead in the run-in there that he began getting little games here and there, a few appearances? When the crunch is really setting in this season, if we're in a title fight, if we're in the trenches here, is McCardle going to be in and around the team? We'll wait and see. But yeah, you're right on the B team stuff. Definitely on that one. It's we need a pathway to bring these boys through because it's becoming a repetitive process. They all just run the contract down and leave.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what sort of connection that we have with Fulham right now as well. Is that coming through? Is it through somebody at the club, or is it through one of the agents or something that are associated? Because that's Dembele, it's Morris Gents, it's Matt O'Reilly, and now this too. And if you look at my O'Reilly, the way that he was mentored, and he seems to be, his head fairly fixed on is what he wanted his career to be like. Maybe he's getting the same advice, the same sort of mentorship from people that helped mentor Matt O'Reilly. And if you got a boy come in there with that sort of headspace and that sort of conviction that he knows what his path is, how he's going to become a professional football player and maybe end up in Italy in 4 years or 3 years, like Matt O'Reilly.
Looks like it.
Yeah, Celtic would be a very attractive offer. And, and I hope there's other teams out with Fulham, Manchester City that start to see that as an option. We should be able to get lots of players from other clubs as well that, like especially big clubs as well. Like, I like when we sign guys that have came, like Odsonne Edouard, he'd been through the system with PSG. So there was a culture of winning and a mentality and stuff in there. I'm always like, Norwich is my pet peeve team. When you're getting players from Norwich and Sheffield Wednesday and, like just continuously shite relegation fodder teams like that, really bringing same for same into the same sort of culture of winning. And I think that's what ends up happening when you go into the second half of a season where you've won it very early because, the other teams collapsed and, you managed to play well throughout all that time. But then you start seeing the difference in the performances and stuff like that. That's a player that doesn't, there's players that you still watch guys like Roy Keane and Stilian Petrov and Sutton and that in interviews. And it was just a desire to go out there and win every single game. Yeah. And that's what I like when you get guys that come from big culture teams,
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that was brought up a few times last season. And again, I think I drew a comparison a few weeks ago to Brendan's first time in charge, the Invincible treble season, right? When we beat Rangers in the New Year game that year at Ibrox, beat them 2-1 in early 2017. And that put us, I think, 16 points in front, I want to say, around about that time. And that season ended, we were 30 points in front of Aberdeen, who were second, and 39 points in front of Rangers, who finished third, right? The Invincible treble season. And this season, after a couple of losses, as we were, 13 points. Remember, the points just kind of petered out around about between 11 and 14 points. It kept on fluctuating. We'd drop a couple of points, then Rangers would drop them, and we would get them back and whatnot. It never seemed to break into the 10 points. It never got any less than that from a point. But Brendan would really like this excuse about, the players have got too comfortable and, maybe we're being too far ahead. But again, it's like, well, 8 years ago, it shows you the mentality of those players like your Dembele's, Scott Brown, Lustig, Sinclair, a young Callum McGregor at the time, young James Forrest, a young Kieran Tierney. All these guys like Craig Gordon was a goalkeeper, an experienced head there. Those guys, when they went 16 points in front of Rangers after the win in January 2017, they didn't think, that's it then. That's it. I mean, there was a point last season after the first half where I genuinely was like, we're going to do Invincible Treble again. We're going to do this again, because it just felt that way with the way we started the season, and we were just blowing teams away. But yeah, then it got to a point where that team last season, it just shows you the difference in mentality now. And it's not just a Celtic thing, I think football in general. I think a lot of characters, you mentioned a few good characters like Keane and Sutton and all of that. You don't get guys like that anymore in dressing rooms. A lot of players just like to be comfortable. But yeah, I did find that weird last season a few times, where Brendan wheeled that one out. We lost to like Hibs, we lost to St Johnstone. There was like a draw with Dundee, a mad 3-each draw. Obviously, they lost to Rangers, both of them. And again, it's like, the players have just got too comfortable, and it's a motivational thing. And it's like, man, say 8 years ago, we're 30 points in front of Aberdeen. That point still wasn't enough for some of the players. They're probably still annoyed. In fact, I can remember a game near the end of that season, we drew with Ross County, and the players were fuming. Ross County got an absolute phantom penalty, and the players were raging that they dropped points in that game, raging about it. So it just shows you a difference in footballers in general, the mentality from then to now. And that's, I say, less than a decade ago.
I think our manager reflects in that as well. But I wanted to see more from Rodgers. I wanted to see more. He just came to it like there was nothing he could do about it. Well, the players have got comfortable with that. Well, you're playing the same guys every week. You're putting guys into positions that are no fail zones. And again, your changes are predictable. You're not changing your style at any point. I mean, if we'd have dropped points because we had been bringing new players in to try and test them and see if they do have a shot at Celtic, or trying out a different formation that we could use, I would be all well within. I would enjoy the football. Even if you get beat or you draw, don't like it, but you could accept that if you could see that we were actually developing something. I wasn't too upset when Ange had some of his games where we played Champions League and stuff, and you could see he was trying to do something. I never agreed with his sort of like, you play 70 minutes hard and then change it and then just throw on the subs at the end, basically giving up the ghost at that point. But you could see what he was trying to do. With Rodgers, I don't get it. I don't get what he was trying to do this year. You had an opportunity at the end to sort of like start looking and rebuilding and experimenting something with the team, especially a different formation. In fact, I think the opposite happened. We started seeing bad habits creep in and the same things that we've seen before, rather than the semblance of anything new.
So again, they got comfortable. Again, that's it. They just went back to their old ways.
And that's it. Nice boys, comfortable boys, playing a football team. It's no nice for the fans. I mean, especially.
And the thing is, Liam, the thing is, how much of that complacency crept into the performance in the Scottish Cup final? Think about it. We were going through that run-in. We'd have the occasional like big one. We put like 5 past Dundee United, then like a sort of stale showing against Rangers at Ibrox. It was quite a tame game and stuff like that. It was like we won 2 games and drop points, and it was just so stop-start. And again, these wee things can add up again with the players in that mentality. Say the cup final, I think the evidence was there. We got 1-0 up and we got comfortable. We just thought they're not going to score. And to be fair, I people like myself, I blame, because in the stadium, I genuinely felt like Aberdeen won the trouble in us. I thought we were just going to hold on to the ball, keep passing it around, the horseshoes, you like to call it. And obviously we got sucker punched. Mistakes happen. This is a cup final. Things can happen, of how the ordinary. And so obviously something totally out of the ordinary did happen. And when it did, we were like, we've already made a bunch of subs. We've kind of lost the momentum of the game. So it's like, what do we do? So that could have played a part in that cup final. But say it's done now. Nothing we can do to change it. We need to try and make amends for this coming season. But the way we started last season, that needs to be consistent. And hopefully we don't hear more, the players got comfortable stuff. To me, I'm like, you want to go and win every game. Like you said, players had that mentality, years ago. Go out and win every game. Prove a point. Prove why you're the best team And I want to see that this season, to say it's not outside the realms of possibility with Celtic.
It'd be nice to see us make some changes as well in the background. I think Rodgers is very comfortable. I think our backroom staff is very comfortable. I mean, what pressure does Rodgers have on him to perform at Celtic? He's done well. He's won his trebles. He's done that sort of stuff. But as far as, is he hurting as much as I was hurting losing to Rangers? I don't think so. I don't think he was. I think you look at a guy, he's in a really comfortable position. He's made all his money. He's got loads. And he's got a board there that's sort of like, he's part of this sort of Irish cabal that, like he's one of the boys.
Yeah.
He's got the grey suit and the same tie as the rest of them now.
He does actually, aye, you're right.
And he's just part of that. And I don't know if his pay is in, where he's getting, part of the cut and stuff, like, like if his compensation is tied into overall performance or just his performance or whatever it is. But he just looks really comfortable. He doesn't look like anybody that, who's kicking.
Just like his players in the second half of last season, looking comfortable.
So who's kicking his arse? Is the board doing it? Because, oh no, he'll walk away. Or what? It just seems in a weird thing where Rodgers is calling the shots, and I want to see him fighting for his job. I want to see him coming out and showing me that disaster at the end is no disaster, but like just a drop off at the end of last season is a one-off, and he knows how to fix this. Because I don't think he does. I don't think his recruitment's good, and I think his playing style's been found out. And I think, yeah, it's possible. It's possible to fake it till you make it. All right, he's made it now. I'm not seeing any progression at that point. And we've had some really bad competition the last couple of years. It just takes them to get it right 1 year, and then we'll look like we're rebuilding again.
Well, that's right. Before we go, the sort of last thing you really say is that's the unknown going into this season. Obviously, a lot of Celtic fans, we've had a good chuckle about who they got as their manager in the end after all the talk. All the Rangers fans hope about they wanted guys like Mourinho and stuff like that because of a tongue-in-cheek comment that Jose Mourinho made when they played Fenerbahce. They thought that was him doing a come-and-get-me plea to the Rangers board. They also ended up with Russell Martin, and all Russell Martin needs to do is make sure that they can beat the likes of Motherwell and St Mirren and Hibs and that on a consistent basis, because that was where they dropped the most points last season. Because unfortunately against us, we didn't win the head-to-head. So if Russell Martin does enough to just get them scraping by those teams, then we need to be at our absolute best. So I say, how we started last season, that needs to be the same again coming into this season, but consistent. It can't be a case of once we get 10 points in front, it's like, the players are comfortable now. It's like, no, you want to just keep going, because again, you can lose. Again, a cup final, you lose that bit of momentum in the run-in because you think, the game's won. We lose to St Johnstone and McDermott. It doesn't matter. We're 16 points in front, 13 points in front. We're going to win it anyway. So you want to keep the sharpness going because, as we saw on the tail end of the season there, that cup final, you lose that momentum. You lose your rhythm of play, your style of play, and when you get caught cold like we did by that Aberdeen equaliser, the players were struggling to get back into the game and figure out how to get themselves out of that one. So it's a case of we go for the jugular. We keep going. If we do get a good, decent lead at the top of the league, we just need to keep on going. Say 8 years ago, we did it. You say 30 points in front of Aberdeen, 39 points in front of Rangers. There was no getting comfortable there. So to me, it's like, no, we want to see things like that about Celtic. So it's up to Brendan to find that what he did at the start of last season, whatever magic dust he sprinkled on the team and got that motivation for the first half of last season. That's what we need to see coming into all of this season.
What season's not even started, and their board's already having their first fight with the SFA over.
I know, aye.
Did you see that through the week as well?
The statement.
The guy that threw the bottle at Sinisalo got arrested. Supposed to have a number of convictions, that guy. And then what was the other one? Yeah, Rangers have. They're going to be watching. They're going to be watching everybody's stream and all that to make sure, like Peter Grant or a Jerry McCulloch don't come out and say anything incriminating as well, because they don't feel hard done by. Like is it John John Brown, Bomber Brown,
John
wasn't
Brown,
it?
Bomber Brown, yeah, it was, aye.
So he got pulled up for saying that they're corrupt. But it's funny, the play he's talking about, I mean, all they had to do was come out and clarify that. It looked like the foul was for like pushing the defender into the goal before you got the ball. I don't know how they don't see that as saying, oh, that goal should have stood. He's got both arms pushing him out of the way to get the ball over the line. And but just like every new manager, they seem to come out and have a go at the refereeing and all that to sort of like hammer down on this institutional biasness against Rangers, and just waiting for Martin to bring it out in his first press conference as well and say that he's well and truly one of them.
Yeah, that's right. He said all Steven Gerrard did in his first game as well.
Thought he was coming in with the worst haircut in Scottish football until I seen the picture that was released of Stephen Presley.
Man, let's just quickly talk about that. What about Stephen Presley's amazing press conference saying, I mean, if you're wanting a manager that wins trophies, I'm not your man. Brilliant, love it. Scottish football's undefeated, man. Love stuff like that.
Yeah, that haircut as well. I've never seen a comb over that started at your jawline, at your beard, and then just right around. It's like hairy balaclava, something you see in a wedding back in the 60s. My God. Oh, man.
It was a bit out of nowhere first, but this also showed me with Stephen Presley. Apparently, he's been working at Brentford as like a director of football for the last like 4 or 5 years, and Brentford have bedded themselves in as one of the sort of like Brighton in the Premier League, where they unearth these good players that turn into they can sell for a big profit. Like Brian Mbeumo is about to go to either Man United or Tottenham. Guys like Johan Visser. So Stephen Presley's been involved in that makeup for the last few years at Brentford, and I was like, I did not realise that's where he was. But he wasn't really selling himself, to be fair, with that presser, saying that I'm not the man to win any trophies or anything. So basically, that's Scottish football. You've got to love it. And also, just another thing, well, before we go, just really, really quickly, Daryl has asked, have I seen the leaked away top, not the off-white one? I've not even seen the off-white one. I've only seen the black one with the neon pinstripe hoops, which we were promised was going to be a Bumblebee type tribute, and it's the colours, it's black and it's neon yellow, but it's not what I think any of us were envisioning, Darryl. It really wasn't, but I've not seen the off-white one. I've heard about it, but I've not seen it. Sorry, Liam, you were going to say something as well. Sorry, mate, I jumped in there.
No, I forgot anyway.
Fair days, sorry, man. It was with Stephen Presley, was it about him? It was Presley we were talking about at Brentford.
I think it was about Stephen Clark, that when he retires for Scottish football or the Scotland coach and comes back, I think that will be the sort of press conference he has. Well, I'm not going to win any trophies and you're not going to have any fun.
Oh God, yeah, don't even get it started. These Scotland games recently, Jesus Christ, man, and then we've got all that to do with the World Cup qualifiers. Oh God, it would surprise me, by the way, if Stephen Clark seems to get it right in the qualifiers again and we end up qualifying for the World Cup and just do what we did at the Euros last year, just get tanked in every single game, just get a doing. So it wouldn't shock me. Underwhelmed again.
I'm right in the middle of one of the World Cup zones, so this area is designated to be a World Cup zone. So I'm hoping we get Japan. They look like they could be a lot of fun. Anybody but England.
Oh yeah, indeed. They've not been firing all cylinders anyway with a shiny new manager. But anyway, before we delve into talk about international football, that's us. We'll head off now. That's an hour and 20 minutes we've done. So show number 2 on the new channel, done and dusted, folks. So remember, if you've only just discovered this tonight, hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate obviously sharing the link as well, because we're trying to build the subscriber base on this channel as well. And likes always help with the old algorithm, so hit the old like button on the way out as well. And as I said last week, I unloaded a lot of information to the viewers about the upcoming schedule and shows. I have obviously relayed all that info to the team as well, told people this is who I want to host this and be on this show and whatnot. And these things will start to ramp up because we need more stuff to talk about, and Celtic ain't giving us that much to talk about right now. We're still in that period of the pre-season. But yeah, like Mark, as I said, the weekend verdict, that'll be his thing. It'll be like a Monday night show, maybe a Tuesday night show, depending on availability. So Judge Kearney on the weekend verdict. We've got a name for the post-match show. Was it yourself, Liam, or Terry? The two of you were throwing names at the group chat. Terry decided to call it the bus home because that's the whole gimmick of the channel. It's a supporters bus. you're on the bus home, you're talking about the game. So probably a carry out as well, you know, so because that'll be there. So it's going to be called the bus home. So there you go. That's going to be it. It's not going to be post-match pish anymore. That's going to be the new name. So Terry will be hosting that, obviously. And as I've said to him, it'll be a rotation. Whoever's available, if I'm available, if Liam's available, Regan, Mick, whoever is available, it can be anybody. Because it's always good to get different opinions on. But Terry will be hosting that as well. I've also got one that I didn't mention last week, because I realised we probably need a show that's that we could just jump on and do, and it isn't connected to a specific night, because obviously if a show has got a day in the name, you're kind of restricted to when you can do it. So I'm just going with the trend. Everyone apparently nowadays, Terry, is into TikTok. So the show is going to be called TIC TALKING, TIC as in Celtic talking. So there you go, because I say everyone's doing TikTok these days, so why don't we embrace it as well? So TIC TALKING will be our general Celtic chat, where whatever stories are breaking, whatever stories are doing the rounds, that'll be the one. There you go, TIC TALKING, there it is. Say the weekend verdict, that's coming as well. The bus home will be Terry's post-match show. The Magic Bus, again, we're still keeping that shrouded in mystery. That'll be Liam's domain, the Magic Bus. Keep your eyes for that one as well. And of course, as I said, Carmageddon. Corner Cars, Carmageddon, that's coming as well. And I say Bustalgia will be sticking around as well, where I'll be delving into doing deep dives on specific Celtic games. So I will aim to get different members of the team on for each episode, and we'll talk about their favourite game, if they can even narrow it down to one, because there's a lot to go through there. But yes, tonight has been That Friday Feeling. I've been Phil, and I've been joined by Canada's favourite Tim, the wise man Liam. Thank you again for jumping on. I'm absolutely perishing. It's roasting hot here, so I'm going to go in an ice bath just now, I think, at this late time, because it is horrific tonight. And thanks for watching, guys. I say hit the like button on the way out, and we shall catch you on the next one. See you then.